4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi boys and girls, me Butch in my 50 mission hat. My name is Terry David Silvercloud. I'm not native, just sounds that way. I'm 78 years old and I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. Today is the 15th of March 2023, the Ides of March in the old Roman calendar. In 44 BC, Julius Caesar was stabbed to death by his buddies when they were on their way to the Senate when Julie was going to declare himself a god, and he never got the chance. So you're here today because you have some kind of concern about dick size or dick something, who knows what, and I'm here because I'm a dick expert. I'll tell you why in a second. And I'm going to tell you what I know and what I think. I got this right? There we go. There we go. You may have been to other sites and people say they're doctors or say they're whatever they say they are. How do you know? They're making money getting you to watch videos telling you what you want to hear. So I may not tell you exactly what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what I believe to be fact and truth. So, where's my notes? There's my notes. I'll screw up anyway. What are we going to do first here? Size. Let's talk about penis size, just so we have a standard going here. According to statistics, 50% of all the men on the planet have a penis that is at least 5.5 inches long. And people have them longer or shorter, but half of the men, 1 billion men, they have penises longer than 5.5 inches. And I've sucked off more than 100 guys and swallowed. And I've had a lot of different kind of dicks in my mouth. Most of them were circumcised. But I can tell you on the average was around 6 inches, somewhere there. Some of them were a little more. People tell me I'm big, and I'm 6.5 to 7 inches hard. You're the same soft if you really measured it, but in hard I'm just under 7 inches, and people think I'm big. Big is 8 inches. Big is a really nice size. It's big. And it's impressive, and it's not so big that you're likely to hurt even a small girl. Maybe some girls it might be a bit too tight. Most anuses will stretch, so if you're into anal sex, a little bit of work, it'll get big enough, and you can pork anally. My qualifications for telling you all this is that I am a cocksucker, and I've sucked a lot of dicks, both straight and gay. I've had opportunities to ask straight guys if I could give them a blowjob. I was in, not a lot, maybe a dozen times in my life, at least a dozen, where I was in a situation comfortable enough to ask a guy, and there was time on our hands anyway, if you'd like to get sucked off, and almost all of them, I can't remember how many I sucked off, maybe a dozen, but if it was a dozen, 10 of them said sure. The others sort of just declined, and that was okay. But most guys, straight guys, if nobody's ever going to know, ever, they'll say yes, because they want to get a blowjob. They may never had one for many reasons. They just want to get sucked off. And I'd be happy to oblige them. So my experience and my expertise in all of this is I'm a gay cocksucker, and I'm old, and I've just done it a lot, and I've seen a lot of dicks. And in size, I can tell you from what I've seen, the average size is, maybe it's because of what I picked, but the particular, it's just who knows, because I didn't maybe have a large enough sample, but I would say on average is about 6 inches hard for most guys, and I've given blowjobs to guys that were 8 inches, probably 20 at least guys that dicks that big. And I've given a blowjob to a guy who had a 12-inch wiener. It wasn't fat, but it was 12 inches long. He was able to get hard and shoot a load, and I swallowed it. And then there was a guy I knew. The one I remember, it's probably why I remember because it was such a big thrill. A younger guy I knew when he was in his teens, I had said to him, you know, if you ever want to get sucked off, just ask me. I'd love to suck you off. And one day he came by on his bike in the summertime, and nice hot summer day in Toronto, and so I'm here for my blowjob, and he turned out to be 10 or 11 inches. He was huge. It was awesome. He got really hard and blew his load. So I've had experience with big and small, and I can tell you that mostly they're around 6 inches long. Now in terms of shape, the 8-inch guys were usually, by luck, nicely, whatever that is around there, 2 or 3 inches. And I've never measured that, but you know, they had a nice girth to go with their length. They were just awesomely great dick, just what every guy would wish he had. Now I lost track of what I was talking about. Size. Shoot, David, you're so bad that way. You let my mind drift. So I think we've got size out of the way. Let you know what average size is. Now I want to talk about circumcised versus uncircumcised quickly here. I'll try. I had a lot. I'm a guy that has one of those kind of guys that had a lot of loose skin on my dick, even when I was hard, and also I really grew up in the 70s when most of the guys I met were cut, and I just love circumcised guys, and I find they're easier to give a blowjob to. Their tips aren't so sensitive. Guys that are uncircumcised, I use my hand and my pressure on my lips against so their dick is sort of going in and out as if they're fucking, and with pressure on both my lips and the back and forth, but I make sure the foreskin is in my hand so that my actual fingers do not rub against the tip of their dick. My lips do, but they're wet and smooth. My hands, who knows what my hands are. So that rhythm, that thump thump, like a train, ka-thump, 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 that rhythm over the head excites the nerves in there, and eventually everything lines up, and the penis shoots a load, and I swallow it. Yummy, yummy. So in the world, about 40%, about 4 out of every 10 men are circumcised. That's partly because there's a huge Muslim, and if you take all the Muslim men and all the Jewish men in the world, that accounts for a lot of men, and they're circumcised because that's part of their religion. The Jewish boys are circumcised on day 8, and the Muslim, it'll depend on where they're from. It'll either be as a baby or when they reach puberty and they do their manhood rites. Around age 12 or 13, they'll have their foreskin. Must be embarrassing. I guess that's what you do. That's what you do. So they'll have their foreskin lopped off and become a child of God and a man in the Muslim religion. And then there's all the other people like me that love being cut. And during the First and Second World War, especially I think during the First World War, so many recruits were showing up with uncircumcised, with horrific problems and cleanliness and who knows what, not being able to pull their foreskin back because they were never trained, that the Surgeon General recommended that all boys be circumcised, and definitely at the end, through the war, Second World War, and that's why so many American guys ended up being circumcised, and most of the dicks, I don't know how many dicks I've sucked. I don't. If it was 100, then 90 of them were cut. The other 10 weren't, but I prefer them cut. So what's important while I'm talking about that, so I'm going to get on to that right now, if I can just find it. We're talking about the problem that can happen with guys that aren't circumcised is they can develop a condition called phimosis. And that's where the foreskin cannot be retracted, or can only be partially retracted back over the head of the penis. And that can be fixed. It's an operation, but it can be fixed, and it's a good thing to have looked into if you have that problem, or if it's causing you problems with hurting or cleanliness or any reason at all. I just didn't like my foreskin. I just didn't like it. And I wanted to be cut. I really wanted to be cut. I had so much skin, I thought it might help me get harder. And in the end, they didn't cut enough skin on to, if circumcisions are overdone, then it will help make a cock get harder. And if you're having troubles with it, if you're getting an erection, see, guys that don't have a trouble, even if they have a lot of skin and they get really hard, it won't matter if there's loose skin, because there's another layer. There's the skin, the epidermis, and then there's this sheath, and then there's this spongy material and blood vessels. That's what's in your dick. The reason you cannot make a dick bigger is it's not a muscle. I can make my muscles bigger. I'm 78. Mine aren't too bad for a 78-year-old dude. I work it. You gotta want it. Oops. I have 2 of these, and I try to lift them 50 times a day and do 75 curls a day and touch my toes. And you gotta want it. You gotta want it. You gotta really want it. And I wanted. I was a bit overweight, but lately I learned this exercise where you push, 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 push. I can do it while I'm talking to you because I've been doing it for a couple of months. But when you first tried it, to do this exercise, it's really, really, really hard. But I'm trying to get rid of that really stubborn. I'm going to have some loose skin because I was heavier before. But there's always that stubborn little bit of belly fat that once you've got it, you've got it. And so I'm working on trying to work up definition by developing those muscles. Eventually, even through the belly fat, if I develop enough definition there, you'll see my six-pack. And I'm hoping, what is this, March? I'm hoping by July when I hit the beach that I'll have a six-pack. Might get out in April. Sometimes it's sunny at Wreck Beach, the nude beach here. It's warm below the cliffs. It's a lot, and even though if it's... Anyhow, I'm trying to develop a six-pack, and I'm beginning to because this is working. I've been doing this for 2 months, and I can see it working. And I watch my diet, I watch my calories, and I've gotten all off track here. So what did I talk about? Size. I talked about cut and uncut, and I'm trying to get through your head. There's absolutely zero way. I'm looking for something here. There we are. There's zero way you can make a dick longer. For cosmetic kind of things, if it's skinny at the end and fat at the base, or you can take skin in, just do plastic surgery, zip down your, anesthetize your dick, and they cut the skin open and they can tighten it more. They can, when you're doing if this is your knob, they'll cut around here and pull more skin up to make it tighter, which may help you give a better erection. It's so much easier for me to make a cut guy come, giving them a blowjob. They're easy compared to guys that are not circumcised. So, now I lost track of what I was talking about. Types. Oh, types. So, if you have a dick that curves upwards, a little bit of curve is really sexy. I really like it. A nice little bit of a curve on a good sized dick. I had a friend with benefits that I met when he was really young, And me and my boyfriend both used to. He liked my boyfriend. Once I introduced him to my boyfriend, he liked my boyfriend better. But he was a boxer, and he had a fantastic dick, about 8 inches, and circumcised. And he had a slight curve, and he was just awesome to give a blowjob to. And you know, he would, after a fight, he hadn't been masturbating or doing any sex working up to a fight. And right after he'd had his fight, he'd be over looking for me or my boyfriend to give him a blowjob. And awesome. But the curve bit, now if it's really curved, that can be painful, and there is a treatment for it. And if it's curved to the right or curved down, likewise curved to the left, mostly it curves to the right or curves up. Curving straight down is very unusual, but there is surgical treatments for that kind of things. And if you're really big at the base and you know, skinny at the end, they can slit in there and remove some of the tissue material and then tighten you back up. And so those kind of things can be corrected surgically. But your dick was formed as a fetus in the first 6 months to you when you were the fetus, and that's what your dick is going to be for the rest of your life. And although it may have something wrong with it, pigmentation, or it's hairy, or a lot of those things can be corrected cosmetically, but the length is going to be what it is, and what's inside there is a kind of a balloon that's decided sometime between about age 10 and about age 25, but usually by about age 14 or 15, a boy's dick is fully developed. Most 16-year-olds, the average 16-year-old, his dick is as big as it's ever going to get, because in evolution, that's when he's supposed to be creating kids. If he survived to 20, then he got lucky. Now everybody's living longer, but evolution-wise, most guys they're as big as they're going to get at age 16, and certainly by 19 or 20. And the body stops making or slows down hormones, testosterone, around age 25. So it's basically downhill physically unless you're willing to fight to have it, which I'm so vain that, you know, that's the way I am. I was pretty hot when I was younger, because I never had, can't say never, but virtually nobody ever said no to me. Strangely, at a club, the only guy that ever did, this blonde-haired guy, he turned me down because he was chasing after this other guy who I thought was too young to be interested in me. I was like 30, and he was like 18 or something, the one that he was chasing after, and so I wasn't chasing after him, the young one. But then later, as the club night went on, the younger guy, the 18-year-old, sort of chatted me up, and he let it be known in no uncertain terms that he really wanted to go home with me. And so I had sex with him several times after that. He was a rich kid, stinking rich, really rich. He lived up on the Circle in Vancouver, where there's only about 10 mansions. And, yeah, he was stinking. When I was very poor, and when we were at home in my bed, my ceiling was so decrepit because I lived in the basement. I had a big poster of a Lamborghini Countach, you know, the Gullwing car on my ceiling. That's what I looked up at. And in the morning when he woke up with me, we were lying in bed, and he looked at me and says, "Oh, my mom's got one of those." And I didn't believe him, of course. And he wanted to have sex one time, and he invited me over to his place because his mom was away and his dad was away, who was some kind of doctor. And I drove up in this mansion, and he took me to the back of the house with glassed-in back porch and served me orange juice. Then we went up to the third floor of the mansion, and we had sex. And then we left the house and we were both going downtown. We came down through the main stairway. The front hallway of the house had a table that would seat 6 or 8 of old black oak. That was decoration in the front hallway. I do go on and divert. Anyhow, so I've covered types. I'm going to shut up. Treatments. There's lots of treatments for misshaping. The average size is 5.5 inches. I think because I just go on and on and on and on, I'm trying to get in your head that I had a lot of experience with cocks, and all these concoctions that are going to make you bigger or harder, they're just pulling the wool over your head. They might be healthy for you. Ginger, some people should be careful with heart conditions. It's a blood thinner, so if you're taking beta block, a little bit of ginger is fine, but if you're going to start taking drinks, capsule of ginger, you should be cautious with that one. Garlic, you can take all the garlic you want, that should be fine. There's a couple of odd herbs that are supposed to make you horny. I don't know if they do or not, but that's why they have Viagra and stuff. So Butchie Poo is going to shut up, and he's going to get out of your hair here and hope that I've convinced you that all these things people are telling you in the net about being able... I'm looking for something out here. Of course I can't find it. That's not it. That ain't it. That's the one over here. No exercise you can do with your dick is going to make it longer. It's physically absolutely impossible. And if you still can't get it through your head, you really need to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because your problem is an emotional, psychiatric one at this point, and it's affecting your life. Somebody like Ann Lander said something like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you change the things you can change, and I don't know the exact quote, you probably know what I'm talking about. Some things you have to make the best of and look for the best solutions. But old Davy Pooh's, Butchie Poo here is going to shut up, because I know I've gone on way too long here. Which camera are we on? We're on that camera over there. So bye-bye from Butch.